What's up? So I want to read a little something to you from the Bible from King Solomon, who in history is said to be the most wealthy, good-looking, intelligent, all-knowing, all-experiencing with regard to earthly things, meaning he has experienced it, he has done it, he has lived it, and he wrote to explain about it 900 some years before Jesus ever walked this earth, because he was given the opportunity to understand the God-sized hole in his heart that so many great, your Socrates, your Aristotles, your incredible, brilliant minds of the past, these guys asked great questions. These guys asked the questions of, what is the meaning of life? What is your purpose for living? The book of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon, nobody says it better than him. I'm going to read to you. Meaningless, meaningless, says a teacher. So he's speaking from a position of, let's just say he was at a Starbucks having his coffee and someone sat down and said, "Hey man, tell me the meaning of life. You seem to have it all." So he was speaking from a position of being a teacher, exposing what he has learned. He wasn't talking to one person. He was explaining what he has learned. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, the sun sets, and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south, turns to the north, round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, but the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ears its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, "Look, this is something new"? It has already long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. And then the next thing goes on to say how wisdom is meaningless. Pleasures are meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Vanity, vanity, vanity. All is vanity. So let's break this down real quick. What's really interesting is we spend all this time wrapped up in ourselves, focused on how we can better ourselves, because that's a humanism approach, because you want a better society, you want a better humans, you want a better things. So you spend time learning and absorbing things of this world under the sun that others have already done. So we can kind of piggyback off of other shoulders who have already done this work, so long as you believe them, and you can grow beyond some of their work, which is really kind of cool. However, his point is, what matters? The next person 50 years from now is going to look at our iPhone and be like, "What a joke." As we look at the rotary phone, as we look at the light bulb, as we look at the buggy, what you guys got to understand is, just because we got it cool and we think what we have is awesome, so did they back then when they came up on their new something. Just because you got a lot of money, property, and a big house, dog, they had big properties and big lots and things called castles. So no one has it bigger, greater, better, smarter, fitter. Nobody has it better than anyone has already had it, nor people to come. We're all kind of, we're all going to touch the same things under the sun. You're not going to get outside of this life. It's meaningless. If it's under the sun, I'm going to get to a point here in a second. There's a hedonism approach where you're a glutton, drink, eat, be merry. There's a approach to life of, it's meaningless. We might as well live it up, live for the moment. What is it? There's YOLO, you only live once type mentality. And that is another form of a godless, baseless, I'm living for nothing, meaningless life where it's all about vanity because there is nothing else outside of that. It's superficial. It's only on the surface. The vanity is only on the surface. There's nothing deep. There's nothing below it. There's nothing to live for. So what Solomon is saying is everything he ever lived for was meaningless outside of the parameters of God. Sorry, let me say that another way. What King Solomon was saying is that everything he lived for under the sun was meaningless. Everything he had ever acquired under the sun was meaningless to him. It wasn't until he attached himself to the cord of God and to the supernatural, to the omniscient, to the powerful being that created all of this. It wasn't until he started understanding the purpose of his life and his God-sized hole in his heart to then help better explain to other people that it's about living for the one, not living for yourself. There's something to be said about these people that are consistently questioning the meaning of life. And it doesn't, that's never going to cease. And the thing about it is Socrates was killed because he asked the challenging questions. And he was close, but he died before he could come up on the answers for himself. And you see King Solomon, he understood, and if you read Ecclesiastes in the Bible, you'll understand that there is much to be said trying to fill your God-sized hole in your heart with anything but God. And there's something to be said about the peace and the freedom of being set free from those things that entangle you when you do satisfy your God-sized hole with God, because only God alone can satisfy the God-sized hole. What it comes down to is you start having a meaning for your life. You start having a purpose for living. Everything you do starts to have a better purpose, whether it be living a cleaner, more justified life within your relationships of your wife, your kids, your job. You start having a purpose and a meaning that brings light and brings joy and brings work, brings honor, integrity. You see, money, it doesn't make you feel good. If it is, it's just a moment. It's just temporary. You see, there's something different about doing something for somebody else, doing something with a purpose, having reward, not in I'm gonna do it for this reward, but reward in I did it because I can. I did it because that person needed me to. There's no greater reward than being given no reward. You didn't do it because somebody was watching. You didn't do it because you were getting paid. You didn't do it because it was going to get you to the next thing. It's not a conduit. You didn't do it to get through it. You did it because you could. You did it because God put you in that position and that person needed your help, or that thing needed your attention, or that hole needed to be exposed by you. Whatever it was. But it took action from you. What Solomon is saying is, there's nothing that can fill a God-sized hole in your heart but God alone. And it's understanding God. It's understanding Jesus. It's understanding what he did and how the people treated him and how his people rejected him. But that is what allows us, you and me, to have a personal relationship with him. It's amazing what went down. And I'm thankful it did to give me a chance. But at the same time, I scratched my head going, what? But I don't know what I would have done in those times. And I'm so thankful for the Bible. I'm so thankful we live in a country, a society that allows us to open up this book, the Word of God, where the Word became flesh and the flesh became Word. This is an important knowledge. This is an important book for you to understand, to give your life meaning and purpose. You see, I've understood something. You can't have a society full of healthy people, happy people that enjoy each other's company, that help each other. You can have a society or a world where everyone gets along, where everyone shares technologies and everyone helps each other put out fires. That makes no money. There's no money in healthy people. There's no money in people being financially independent. Banks make money off of people being in debt. Doctors make money off of people being sick. Drug companies make money off of doctors prescribing drugs to people that don't know what's wrong with them, trusting the doctors. People aren't straight. They chase whatever it is they chase. Everyone has a slightly different love language, but money is what is the conduit to those people's vice. So a lot of people will do just about anything for money because it's money that provides them what's sacred to them. And that's where God doesn't want you to have any idols over him. You see, when you start living for Jesus and you stop living for this world, nothing owns you. Jesus owns you, but he owns you in a different, special way. The vices and the things of this world, they're designed to entangle you. We know we're supposed to be free. We have this desire to be free. Why am I tangled up in this? Let Jesus explain it to you. Let Jesus open your heart. He only knocks so many times before he gives up. Plenty of examples in the Bible where the disciples were told to just keep walking. Don't even stop in that town. There's nobody we're talking to. Wow. You see, there are people who are willing and want to live for something greater than themselves. They're willing to give up their ego if they just had something better than themselves to believe in. Who is that something or somebody? Is it LeBron James? No. Is it anyone in Hollywood? I'll give you Chris Pratt. He's a believer. No. No. You see, there's nobody that is great enough. And this is back to Ecclesiastes. There's no one that's gonna be. There's no one that has been so great that we try to claw them down to be the next greatest. No one's ever gonna be, and no one ever will come close to Jesus. So if there's gonna be an idol, which there should be, because we are all idling something, put Jesus in that place and watch your life change for the better. It has to be an honest desire. It has to be an honest change. You see, getting married happens in your heart. And people display it with a wedding ring or they get a tattoo. And that's a symbol, right? But how many people you know that are married that aren't married in their heart? They just wear a ring and they come home to a wife and kids. But when the wife and kids aren't there, the husband ain't married. And how many times you've seen a situation where people presume to be good people. Man, that guy's got it all together. He's got his money. He's got his wife and kids. Man, he's perfect. Man, little do you know all the little demons he's chasing, all the big, ugly issues in his life, because no one's got it all. Not Joe Rogan, not Bieber. Trust me, all them searching too. This election has exposed quite a bit with all the just lack of integrity these crime families that just take care of themselves. Man, this ain't nothing new, and this is never gonna stop. This has been going on. The corruptness in the FBI, the corruptness in police, man, you're always gonna have a bad apple in each bunch. You got wolves in the church. There ain't nothing perfect. You got pastors doing terrible things. You got churches abusing money. Man, there ain't nobody the example except for Jesus. And you understand something? I'm going to end with this. Going to church, reading the Bible, it's a really important thing because, let me explain something. A drug dog will lose his ability to smell the drugs if he's not constantly trained with both the real drug as well as the training of sniffing the drugs out. You see, if he goes long enough without ever smelling the real thing, he will lose that scent. So the job of the handler is to give that dog a reminder, to reinvigorate his training, to remind him of what he's doing, what he's after. Going to church, reading the Bible, praying with your family before meals or before a drive or at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day or just when you feel like it. Those things bring you back to Jesus. And then it's time to go work. Maybe you stop off at a rest stop and you're talking with a couple people down on their luck and you help them out. Or perhaps you're witness to an ugly conversation in a parking lot at the grocery store and you just pray for that couple. And perhaps you find yourself at a dinner meeting and you're subject to people and influences that challenge your moral integrity. And had it not been for you praying with your wife, and had it not been for you sitting in the car before you walked in, like that dog, remind him of the scent, man, you might have got knocked off your horse. You might have made a mistake, slipped up. You see, Jesus wants you always focused on. You can't live your life fully engulfed in Jesus. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, remind yourself of the scent. And then go out and do the work of Jesus. And when you're going out and doing the work, it might get ugly. And you might strike out. And the enemy might get into your ear a little bit. The enemy might get into your senses a little bit. You gotta wipe that off. You gotta get back to Jesus. And go back out and work. It's a balance. You got to go back out and do the work. You got to come back and take in the scent. You got to be reminded. So you go to church, you read, you pray. Who are you living for? What is the meaning and purpose of your life? People throwing their lives away because they're depressed, because they're upset, because of this, that, and the other. They're scared. Man, Jesus gives you meaning for your life. Even if you're low man on the totem pole, even if you feel your job is worthless, Jesus says otherwise. Jesus tells you, that's not your lawn. That's my lawn. I don't mind mowing my neighbor's lawn. That's my lawn. That's Jesus' lawn. I have the time. I have the energy. Who am I to not? Just because there's an invisible line in the property, I'm not to cut his grass. It's just a choice. But it's neither of yours grass, dude. You both enjoy it. It's God's grass. Whether you choose to cut the whole lawn or not. What are you living for? What are you doing that has meaning and purpose? Holding a door for an old lady. Paying for the guy's coffee in front of you. Behind you. Smiling. Because you thought to. Because you're not the most important. You didn't put yourself first. You now have purpose and meaning in your life because you aren't what's important. Jesus, through you, becomes important. Ecclesiastes will explain to you that there's always going to be somebody better, and there's already been somebody better. I am all for greatness. I'm all for chasing down greatness. I love cool things, and I love intricate, sharp, talented people that just strive for excellence. That's cool. But without Jesus, it means nothing. You ain't dying with any of this stuff. You're not taking anything with you but this like 5-gram soul that exits your body when you pass away. And it's a proven thing. But your soul and what you are worth is judged. Fire burns everything away. The only thing left is what you've done for Christ. If you did it for yourself, it's gone. If you were your own desire, you're gone. You will be judged for what you were given, what you were trusted with. That should scare you. That's the fear of God. But because God designed you, God loves you, and God created you, and God has a purpose for you, hear me out, friend. You are invincible until that day comes. Until the day and the hour comes that God calls you home. You are invincible. You might fall down, go boom, and it hurts. But you'll be put back together, Humpty Dumpty. You are invincible. So don't be afraid of anything. Take care of yourself, of course. Proactive, not reactive. This book will help you. But there's a lot more to do than just reading this book. Sit on your hands at home, in the basement. No abiding basements here, man. You got to go out and get the work done. You got to go out and get it done, but you got to come back and freshen up your senses. Ecclesiastes, check it out. Cheers.